Celtics legend Bill Russell is auctioning off some of his personal belongings. The Boston icon giving fans the chance to own some impressive items. The historic collection includes things from his Hall of Fame career.
He's also auctioning items from his work during the Civil Rights Movement. 7's Jonathan Hall is live in Boston with more on the story you'll only see here. John.
Kiki, Ryan, move over, Tom Brady. Bill Russell has got to be the winningest athlete, not only in Boston history, but in sports history. He has so many rings, so many trophies, he can't keep track of them all, and now many are landing in private hands.
$450, I'll get it for 4.5 now.
For a price, bidders could own a little piece of that Bill Russell magic.
Every once in a while, there's an auction that comes up, a collection that comes up. This is one of them.
The man who won 11 championship rings in 13 seasons in Boston made an appearance here as one of his game-worn jerseys, in fact his last, which he wore during Game 7 of the 1969 NBA Finals, went for a whole lot of cash.
Sold $950,000 online buyer.
That's over $1.1 million, including the 17% auctioneer fee. His 1957-58 MVP award went for $200,000 before fees and taxes.
Sold $200,000.
Really, the response and results are just a further testament to how beloved Bill is in the Boston area and really across the world. It's been an amazing response.
The auction contains more than 430 items. It seems like Mr. Russell saved just about everything, and now a lot of it is going to the highest bidder. 82-year-old Walter Varga put on his best coat to browse the items. He says the bidding is too rich for his blood. He just wanted to take in the spectacle and remember the Celtic legend, whom he watched at the old Garden many times.
I always thought he was one of the greatest defenders of all time.
At 6'9", Russell stood tall, but also in the Civil Rights Movement. In 1961, after being turned away from a coffee shop in Kentucky because he and his teammates were black, Russell and 4 of them refused to play in that night's game. Part of the collection here, a letter baseball great Jackie Robinson wrote Russell after that, thanking him for taking a stand.
He really needs to be commended for having the courage to be able to make that kind of a bold stand.
That scrapbook page with the Jackie Robinson letter and signature went for $94,000 not long ago. The auction continues, Mr. Russell making millions for his family in his later years, and a portion of that money is going to go to charity. We're live at the Garden. Jonathan Hall, 7 News.
NBA legend Bill Russell is getting ready to auction off some of basketball's most valuable pieces of memorabilia later this month. They're all part of the 87-year-old's personal collection, including championship rings, most valuable player trophies, and game-worn jerseys. It's being put together by Hunt Auctions, which much of the proceeds going to his charity mentor. In a rare television interview with the 11-time NBA champion, we met on court in Boston. He reflects on his life, his career, and the obstacles he was forced to overcome, not just as a player, but as a black man in America.
Basketball hadn't seen anything like Bill Russell before. Built like a skyscraper at 6'10". When Russell jumped, Russell soared. The kid from Monroe, Louisiana, who nobody wanted on their team because of the color of his skin. He redefined what the sport could be and eventually ended up being the teammate no one could play without.
Bill, this must have been a great win for you.
Exactly.
Russell catapulted the Celtics and the city of Boston skyward in the 1950s and 60s, winning titles and breaking barriers, at a time when keeping your dignity as a black man in America was easier said than done.
So we're sitting here in Boston at the Garden. You helped bring glory here, 11 championships here. What does it feel like to be here on this court?
I never was comfortable playing for the Celtics because the #1 paper was the Boston Herald, and they didn't like the idea of the NBA team having black players.
You brought championships here in a time when it was hard to be a black man. Was it difficult to be celebrated on the court, but then off of it, not treated equal?
First of all, was never separated on the court. When I got there, the star was Bob Cousy.
Watch Boston's Bob Cousy.
No matter what I did, Cousy was a star.
Bill Russell, another Celtic, taps it in.
I remember I had a game where I had 25 points, 25 rebounds, 10 blocks, and the Boston Herald said I was lucky I got to play with Cousy.
Was it tough to play in this city? Was it easy to win over the fans?
I never bothered with them fans, because when I was a star, the fans called them the Boston Globies.
Like the Boston Globetrotters?
Yeah.
Because you guys had black players?
Yeah.
I'm not a basketball player. I am a man who plays basketball. Bill Russell, the man, is someone who stood up for the rights and dignity of all men.
Bill Russell wasn't just an icon for basketball fans. To rally behind on the floor of the Boston Garden on any given night,
9 top Negro athletes meet with Cassius Clay.
He was an icon for Black America, using his profile to highlight racism and inequality. Here with Muhammad Ali and other top black athletes in 1967, backing Ali's decision refusing the Vietnam War draft. At the march alongside Dr. King in Washington, all while resetting the standard of what was possible. The Boston Celtics were the first team to start 5 black players, and I believe they got some backlash for that. And Auerbach said, we just put the guys on the court that were going to help us win. And that's how he looked at basketball.
Well, see, Auerbach had a problem in Boston that was overwhelmingly anti-black. They considered Auerbach a traitor.
Because he coached black players?
Yeah. See, we were the first team to start 5 black players.
Do you remember in Kentucky where you and your teammates set out because they refused service at a restaurant?
Yeah.
At that time, why did you feel like it was important to do that?
Well, things are part of our preparations for the game. The team would have dinner together, and I had a couple of teammates from Kentucky, and they were going to have a separate pregame meal. So I told the coach, I'm not going to play tonight. He said, why not? I said, because of that.
Later that month, this letter found its way to Russell's mailbox. It was from Jackie Robinson, who broke Major League Baseball's color barrier more than a decade earlier, thanking Russell for boycotting the game in Kentucky.
Jackie was much more to him than most people knew. They just knew he was the first black player in the major leagues. Jackie would not take anything off anybody.
That's right.
And so we were going to play the Knicks, and he says, I want to tell you guys how proud I am of you. Jackie was not only tough, but he's probably the smartest guy that ever played baseball.
I tried to get as many as him. I couldn't get there.
Which championship was the most special to you? Was it the first one, or was it the last one?
The first year I was player coach, and we won the championship.
First black coach in the NBA. Is that right?
Yeah.
And you won as a player and a coach.
Yeah. Well, you gotta understand something. My motivation was to make myself acceptable to my folks. I never felt like I was making a contribution. I was just doing the best I could.
The best he could. Wow. One of the greatest. You know, I wanted to talk about what he did on the court. And he kept going back to what he accomplished off of the court. We love Bill Russell because of his talent, but I think we need to admire him because of how he handled being a player, but being a black man at that time. Just think about that dynamic. He was looked at as superhuman off the court and less than human off of it.
It's what you highlighted in this piece, Nate, and it sort of dovetails with what Bill Russell told you, which is that the game of basketball is a great game, but what you do with that platform for your people and how you want to be seen by the people is just as important, if not more.
And he and Jackie Robinson did it well.
Yeah.
So many others that came after them. But
To all these young players,
Yep.
guys like Bill Russell, how do you want to be remembered when you're done playing?
That's right.
Impact.
Excellent. What a wonderful piece. We'll be right back.